Have you ever felt like your life never truly belonged to you? That your choices, your dreams, and even your future were decided by other people? I felt that in my own skin. My name is Matilda, but for a long time I was just Walter Hayes's daughter, the girl raised to obey, to be quiet, to serve, and to be sold. Yes, I said sold, because when hunger knocked on our door, my father decided that my virginity, my youth, and my body were the solution. He handed me over to a 45-year-old man, a man I barely knew, in exchange for $2,000. And on that day, I learned I wasn't a daughter, I was a commodity. But listen closely. What I discovered on my wedding night wasn't violence. It wasn't cruelty. It was something worse, something hidden, something he had carried alone for decades. A secret so deep it changed everything I thought about him and about me. And that's the secret I'm going to reveal today. But first, if you're listening to this story from any corner of America or the world, leave a comment saying where you're from. Subscribe to the channel, because stories like this aren't just about pain. They're about survival, courage, and liberation. And maybe, just maybe, this story is what you needed to hear today. Now take a deep breath, because what I'm about to tell you isn't easy, but it's true. Let's begin. I grew up believing my father was a strong man, someone who knew what to do, even when the world seemed to be falling apart. But I was a child, and children believe because they want to believe. Our house was small, made of old wood, with a roof cracked by time. When it rained, water streamed down the walls as if the house were crying along with us. Mom would spend her nights sitting near the stove, holding a piece of hard bread, praying for the sun to rise with answers. But answers never came. Hunger did. Need. Humiliation. My father started disappearing for days, as if he were running not from poverty, but from us. When he returned tired, dirty, with the empty gaze of someone who had already given up on the world. Until one day he slammed his hand on the table, took a deep breath, and said, "Matilda is getting married." I was only 16. Mom dropped the bread on the floor. It rolled slowly, as if even the food was tired of suffering. I thought it was a joke. I laughed, but no one laughed with me. My father didn't look me in the eye. Mom was trembling. "He is a respectable man. He will give you what I could never give. The family will survive." That's how they explained my own sale to me. Without tears, without apologies, without love, just need. And the worst part? I wanted to believe there was a reason, that there was a plan, that someone still cared about me. But when the wedding day came, I knew. I was alone. The man waiting for me at the altar was named Mr. Charles Grant. He had gray hair, large hands, and a heavy silence that frightened even the air. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. He just watched me, as if I were a promise or a debt paid. When we arrived at his house, everything was clean, organized, beautiful. But there was something strange. There were no photos. There were no memories. The house seemed empty, as if someone had erased the past. That night, sitting across from each other, not knowing what to say, he asked me, "Matilda, do you know why your father did this?" I shook my head. I didn't know. I didn't want to know. He took a deep breath, ran a hand over his eyes, and said, "Because before you were born, he promised me something, an old debt, a debt that cost a life." It was right there, in that second, that I understood. This story didn't start with me. It started before, long before. And what I found out after that changed everything. When he said there was a debt, my throat closed. That wasn't the kind of thing you say by chance. Debts can be paid with money, objects, land. But when the debt costs a life, something much deeper is hidden there. Mr. Charles got up from the table without making a sound. He walked to an old dark wood drawer and pulled something out. I heard the sound of metal touching wood. It was a cold sound. He carefully placed a small box on the table between us. The box looked old, worn, like something kept for too long, almost like a secret no one dares to touch. He didn't open it. He just looked at it. Then he looked at me. "Before you were born, your father took something from me," he said, his voice broken. but firm, something that should never have been taken. I froze. My heart was beating against my ribs as if it wanted to escape. He continued, "I had a wife, Lucy. She was everything to me." I felt the words hit the floor, slowly, heavy as stones. "Your father worked for me back then, worked for months here in this house. Your mother was expecting you. They needed money." He pressed his fingers against the table like someone holding the world up so it wouldn't collapse. One night, there was a fire, and my wife was alone inside the house. My whole body froze. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to feel. He looked at me, really looked at me this time. "Your father ran. He left me there, between the smoke and the flames. He left me to lose the love of my life. Silence. True silence. The kind that doesn't fit into words. I couldn't breathe." Mr. Charles wiped his face, as if he relived the scene every time he closed his eyes. The debt he owed me wasn't money. It was the life he took. And then he opened the box. Inside it was a ring. Simple, old silver, worn by time. But there, inside it, was an engraving. L and C forever. That forever had burned alive, and I was there, sitting across from the man who lost everything because of my father. It was in that moment I understood. I wasn't sold. I was given in exchange, not as a wife, but as penance. I didn't know whether to cry, scream, or run. The world seemed to have stopped. Mr. Charles then said calmly, almost as if it were a request, "I don't want to hurt you, Matilda. I just wanted to understand if there is anything left in me that can be healed." And there, in that instant, I didn't know who the victim was, me, him, or the past that bound us together through pain. After that night, I didn't sleep. I lay in the bed that was too big for me, staring at the ceiling as if it could give me answers. But there was only silence. Silence and the sound of my own heart trying to understand who I was now. I wasn't a daughter. I wasn't a wife. I was the living memory of a tragedy. The next morning, when I went down to the kitchen, Mr. Charles was already there. He was holding a cup of coffee, but not drinking it, just watching the steam rise and disappear into the air. "I have more to tell you," he said without looking at me, and something in his voice hurt. He asked me to sit. "The reason your father ran that night wasn't just fear." My body tensed, but I didn't interrupt. "Your mother was with him," he said, finally facing me. "Your mother was with me and my wife at the time of the fire." My blood ran cold. I felt as if the floor had disappeared from under my feet. "Lucy was pregnant," he continued, his voice breaking. "She was expecting a baby." The cup trembled in his hand. And that's when everything inside me broke in two. Because he said, "The baby my wife was carrying, and you would be the same age today." Silence, a tearing silence. I didn't want to understand. I didn't want to see. But the truth came, raw, straight, and inevitable. "Matilda, before the fire, your father and my wife were having an affair." I stopped breathing. My father, my mother, his wife, a triangle of pain that destroyed 3 lives and built mine. The child Lucy was expecting might have been your father's. He took a deep breath, holding back tears like a man who is tired of suffering. Or he might have been mine. My heart beat so hard it hurt. If Lucy had survived, if the baby had been born, I could have been his daughter. The man sitting in front of me could be my father. And I didn't know if the world was falling apart or just beginning. When he looked up at me, there was something in his eyes I had never seen. Not anger, not blame, but doubt. Deep doubt. Doubt that makes the heart tremble. "I don't know if I received you as penance or as destiny." My voice came out small as I felt. "Do you think I could be your daughter?" He closed his eyes, and the tears he had been holding back since the beginning finally fell. After that conversation, neither of us could act the same. He avoided my gaze, and I avoided the silence, because the silence now had a name. It had a story. It had a weight. If he was my father, I was the living reminder of the love he lost. If I wasn't, I was the mark of the betrayal that destroyed everything. But life, it doesn't wait for us to decide how to feel. Sometimes it just happens. And it happened 3 days later. The wind was strong that morning. The trees bowed as if revering something we didn't yet understand. I was helping fold clothes on the porch when I saw a cart approaching on the dirt road. A simple cart, no color, no hurry. But I recognized the man sitting on it. My heart tightened so hard I tasted iron in my mouth. It was my father, thin, aged. His face gaunt, like someone who can no longer sleep without being visited by his own ghosts. Mr. Charles appeared behind me. I felt his presence. Firm, silent. Their eyes met. And for a moment, it seemed the entire world was reduced to the hard space between them. Neither of them spoke. My father got off the cart with difficulty. His knees seemed to carry years of guilt. He tried to speak, but his voice failed. I needed to see my daughter. That word cut through the air. Daughter. But even that word had two meanings now. Mr. Charles didn't move, but something in his expression hardened. Now you remember she's yours? He said, his voice low, almost a growl. My father lowered his eyes. He seemed smaller than his own shadow. I received a letter, he said. A letter from Mary. My whole body tingled. Mary was my mother. Mr. Charles's hand behind me slowly clenched, like someone bracing for a storm already gathering overhead. She's sick, my father continued. Very sick. He swallowed hard, and his eyes welled up, but not from someone crying in pain, from someone crying in guilt. She wants to see Matilda. Before God takes her. The world went quiet, very quiet. I felt my legs tremble. Should I hate my mother? Should I run to her? Should I cry? Should I scream? I didn't know. It was Mr. Charles who spoke for me. We'll go. My father looked up, surprised. We? Mr. Charles took a deep breath. The story didn't end that night. And it doesn't end here. He looked at me. But this time, there was no doubt. There was decision. He was coming with me. Not as an owner, not as a tormentor, not as a man, but as someone who needed the truth just as much as I did, maybe even more. The journey to my old house was silent. The wind kicked up dust on the road, and every speck of that dust seemed to carry a piece of my childhood. I remembered myself running there, bare feet, easy smile, small dreams, but mine. Dreams that died before I did. When we arrived, the house was no longer the same. The walls were peeling, the windows dirty. It seemed time had passed through, angry at everything that lived inside. My father got out first. I got out slowly. But Mr. Charles, he stayed one step behind me, not to protect me, but as if he too were stepping into a memory that wasn't his, but reminded him of everything he'd lost. The door was ajar. I didn't knock. I entered, and there she was, my mother, sitting on the bed, extremely thin, but not weak, not crying, not regretful. She looked at me as if I had just stepped out to get water and come right back. No surprise, no emotion. You've grown, she said, as if it were just a detail of life. I felt the blow without her even raising a hand. I was expecting anything, a tear, an apology, guilt. But she looked at me like someone observing a wall, cold, clear, weightless. I took a step. My voice trembled. Mom, She raised her hand, cutting my gesture in half. Don't come looking for affection now. The world wasn't made to take care of us, Matilda. I raised you to survive, not to be loved. The sentence pierced me like a knife that already knows where to cut. Charles breathed heavily behind me, but he didn't speak. My mother continued, her voice firm, almost calm. I knew about the fire. I knew about the affair. I knew about the debt. My chest tightened. So it wasn't an accident. It wasn't a secret. It wasn't a tragic destiny. It was a choice. You knew that. He could be my father? I whispered. She laughed, a short laugh. No humor, no pity. Of course I knew. I lived it before you ever took a breath. I felt the floor disappear. She stared at me, her eyes hard, dry as cracked earth. And I made the decision that needed to be made. One of us was going to survive. I chose to survive. Silence, but not an empty silence. A silence that weighs, that pushes the air out of your chest. Mr. Charles took a step forward. It was the first time she looked at him. And for a second, a broken, fleeting second, I saw something in her eyes. Fear, memory, pain. I don't know, but I know she looked away. You two came looking for the truth, she said. So listen. She lifted her chin, and in the calmest voice in the world she spoke. Matilda owes you nothing, Charles. Because the child Lucy was carrying, she blinked slowly, wasn't yours. The world went mute. Charles stood motionless. I couldn't breathe. My mother looked at me. And you are not his daughter either. Silence. But within that silence, an entire world collapsed. And another began. My mother's sentence hung in the air like dust glinting in the sun. I wasn't Mr. Charles's daughter. I wasn't his wife's daughter. I wasn't a bargaining chip between two men. So whose was I? My mother closed her eyes for a moment, not in regret, but like someone tired of hiding what had been too heavy for years. I took a step closer to her. My heart felt like a living thing trying to leap out. My fingers trembled. If my voice came out weak, I knew I would lose myself right there. So I held my breath, as if holding on to courage, and asked, "Who is my father?" She looked at me, but not as a mother, as a woman who already knows hell. "Do you really think your father is a man you can point your finger at?" She said it without raising her voice, but the sentence hit like a door slamming in my chest. I felt Mr. Charles move behind me. He was motionless, yet present, a silent witness to my fall. My mother ran a hand through her hair, a slow movement, and then she spoke. "Your father was the fire. Your father was what destroyed everything. Your father is the reason Lucy died." I felt the floor recede, as if I were rising unwillingly. It felt like I was floating in the room. No body, no name. The fire. That fire wasn't an accident. She stared at me. I was there. I saw it. Mr. Charles stepped closer, his breathing heavy. "Who started the fire?" he asked, his voice firm for the first time since we arrived. My mother turned her face to him slowly, as if this revelation had slept inside her for years, waiting to be awakened. "Lucy started the fire." The world stopped. Not even a bird made a sound outside. I almost lost my balance. She knew. She knew she was pregnant. She knew she would be judged. She knew the world would destroy you both. So she destroyed it before she could be destroyed. The room became too small for all of us. But my mother wasn't finished. She spoke the last part calmly. The calm of someone who has understood that certain truths don't heal anything. They only reveal. And before she went into that house, before everything caught fire, before the end began, she turned to me, and my whole body froze. Lucy told me one thing. Her voice became almost a whisper. She told me that her child and mine would be siblings. I felt the air leave my body, not slowly, all at once, as if I had been ripped out of myself, me and the baby that was never born, children of the same man, my father, his father, the man who destroyed everything. My father wasn't the man on the cart. My father wasn't the man waiting for me at the altar. My father was the man who let two women burn alone while he fled from his guilt. My father was there, the whole time, behind me, breathing the same air, the man I called father, my father. I turned my face, slowly, as if my body was afraid to arrive before my mind. My father was there, standing, a few steps away from me, the same man who taught me to hold a spoon, to tie my hair, to not cry in front of strangers. That man. The man who fled the fire. The man who let two women burn because of him. The man who raised a child born of guilt, as if love could disguise condemnation. He said nothing. Neither did I. The silence between us was alive. It almost breathed. I took a step, not towards him, but for myself. "You knew?" I asked. My voice didn't tremble, but my heart did. My father closed his eyes. That was all. He didn't try to deny it. He didn't try to explain. He just knew. When he opened his eyes again, they were full, not with tears, but with fear. Fear of me. Fear of being seen for the first time without an excuse. He tried to speak. "Matilda." The way he said my name hurt more than if he had screamed. I raised my hand, not to hit, but to stop the world. "No, don't say my name like that." He stood motionless. I breathed deeply, slowly, feeling the air enter the body I had just reclaimed for myself. You knew she was pregnant. You knew it was your fault. You knew she burned for love, and you ran. My father listened to every word like someone receiving a sentence, because that's what it was, a sentence, not revenge, not hatred, truth. He didn't try to deny it. He didn't try to clean up the story. He just collapsed inside, without tears, without drama. He just collapsed. Mr. Charles was behind me, and in that moment, I knew he understood too. The man who destroyed his life was the same man who called me daughter. My father looked at me like someone seeing a mirror too late. I did what I could, he said quietly. I shook my head. No, you did what you wanted. Silence, a silence that has no end. I turned my back, not running, not trembling, calm, lucid, present, because in that instant, I refused to be the inheritance of a tragedy. I walked out of the house like someone shedding skin that no longer fits. The wind hit my face, and for the first time, I felt like I was breathing for myself. Behind me, nothing was fixed, nothing was forgiven, but something new had been born. Me. I remember the smell of that night. It wasn't perfume, it wasn't wine. It was the smell of the old wood of the mansion, mixed with rain, fear, and silence. I sat on the edge of the bed as he closed the door behind us. I held my breath. I was ready for the worst. I had already accepted that my life had ended there, but the worst never came. He didn't touch me. He didn't try to force me. He didn't raise his voice. In fact, he said nothing. He just stood there, leaning against the wall, looking at me with an expression I couldn't understand. It was guilt. It was pain. It was regret, all mixed together. Then he spoke, in the weakest voice I had ever heard from a man. Do you think I wanted this? I didn't answer. I didn't even trust my own voice. He approached slowly and sat on the floor. On the floor, like someone who didn't deserve to be on the same level as me. You don't understand now, but one day you will. I felt anger, a hot, living, fierce anger. Understand what? That I was bought? He closed his eyes. His hand was trembling. I didn't buy you. I saved you. That sentence echoed inside my head, like a gunshot in a small room. Saved? What kind of salvation is this? He took a deep breath, like someone carrying an entire world trapped in his chest. Your father didn't want money. He wanted you to be handed over to the man he owed. And that man would not have stopped. My blood ran cold. I didn't need him to say any more. I knew what he meant. I knew what would have happened. He looked at me, and for the first time I saw the boy he once was, before life broke him inside. I had to choose. Either I brought you into my home, or I let them destroy your life. He swallowed hard. So hate me. If you need to, hate me for the rest of your life, but stay alive. I didn't know what to feel, or what to think. It was as if the floor had disappeared. The life I thought was being taken from me might have been the life that was being saved, but understanding that didn't make me suffer any less. It just made everything more confusing. And it was on that night, sitting in silence, with the sound of the rain hitting the window, that I realized the villain isn't always such a villain. And the hero isn't always such a hero. But his secret? The real secret? That I would only discover much later. And it would change everything. Absolutely everything. The days passed. He continued to sleep on the sofa, me in the bedroom, almost like two strangers sharing the same house. There were no shouts. There was no touch. Only silence. But it wasn't an empty silence. It was the kind of silence that holds too many memories. And I noticed something about him. He was afraid of me. Not afraid of what I would do, but afraid of what I would discover. Because there was something in that house that he hid. Something that made him restless whenever I walked down certain hallways. Until one day, the door to the room was ajar. A door he always kept locked. And I heard it. A voice. Low. Broken. Suffocated. Mom, do you forgive me? I tried. I tried to be different. My skin crawled. My breath caught. I pushed the door open slowly. And then I saw. He was on his knees before an old photograph in a large frame. A woman, young, beautiful, in a simple dress, but with sad, deep eyes, like his. At the foot of the photo, a wedding ring, an unlit candle, and a box of medicine. He turned when he heard me, but he didn't yell. He wasn't startled. He knew that one day I would enter. Her name was Elisa, my wife. I remained silent. He continued. She was 17 when she married me. My chest tightened. Because I was 17. But I didn't buy her. She came because she wanted to. She said that love heals any wound. He looked at the photo like someone looking at a sorrow that still bleeds. I believed that. I really believed it. His voice broke. But the world wasn't kind to her. It wasn't kind to me. And in the end, he held the ring so carefully as if the touch could tear time. I lost her, and I could never forgive myself. Silence. Heavy, dense, suffocating. Then he lifted his face and looked at me, and there I understood everything. When your father offered me you, I saw Elisa again. I saw the opportunity to protect someone since I couldn't protect her. My soul sank. I wasn't a purchase. I was an attempt at redemption. It wasn't love, not yet. It was guilt, memory, a plea for forgiveness to the past. But then he said something that changed everything. The man your father owed. He hasn't given up. He's still looking for you. I felt the world stop, and he will come. The story wasn't about the past. It was about what was about to happen. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I was scared, but because, for the first time, I knew the whole truth. I wasn't a lost victim. I was a piece in a much larger game, played by broken men trying to survive the world. And I knew, if this man was coming for me, he wouldn't stop. And he came. It was at dawn. When the sky was still gray and the wind still carried the scent of the damp night, a black car stopped in front of the house. Silent, unhurried. But you don't need to hurry when you're sure of what's yours. He got out. A tall man. Dark coat. Slow steps. A gaze that wasn't searching, because he already knew exactly where I was. I came down the stairs, without crying, without trembling, without asking for anything. Behind me, he, the man who brought me to this house, was standing. But this time, he wasn't hunched over with guilt. He was standing tall, his gaze firm, his shoulders heavy but squared, like someone who had decided to stop running from the past. The man in the coat stared at me and smiled, like someone looking at something they've already bought. So, this is where you were. I took a step forward, not behind anyone, not protected. Beside, I don't belong to you. He raised an eyebrow, as if amused by a new toy trying to talk. Your father owes me. Debts get paid. And that's when he, the man who took me in, spoke. The debt was paid with my own life, and I would pay it again. The man in the coat laughed. You think you can stop me? My heart was beating so loud, it felt like the whole world could hear it. But my voice came out clear. I'm not going with you. I won't be anyone's destiny. I choose my own path now. Silence, long, heavy, cutting. It was then that the man in the coat took a step forward, but we both took a step together. Me and him, side by side, two survivors, two broken people, two who had decided to stop running, and the man in the coat understood, not because I was strong, but because I was no longer alone. He let out a half smile. No victory, no defeat, just recognition. This changes things. Then he turned his back, got in the car, and left, not because he gave up, but because he knew that now it wouldn't be easy. And life is never kind to those who lose control. The door closed. The silence returned. But it was a different silence now. He looked at me, and I looked at him. Not as merchandise, not as a debt, not as the shadow of someone who had died, but as life. Life that could still be lived. Do you want to leave? He asked. I took a deep breath, and for the first time, the answer was mine. He asked, do you want to leave? I stood there, motionless, feeling the entire world fit inside my silence. I thought about the girl I was, the girl who believed that love was obedience, that the future was what others decided for her. I thought about the night I arrived at that house, so fragile I could barely look at myself in the mirror. I thought about the fear, the hatred, the revelation, and the truth, and I realized something simple but devastating. I had never lived for myself. I existed for someone, against someone, because of someone, but never for me. So I breathed. For the first time, for me. Yes, I need to go. He didn't try to stop me. He didn't cry. He didn't beg. He just nodded. Because he knew. He knew that love isn't about holding on. Love is about letting go when the soul needs to leave. We packed my small bag together, without hurry, without words. He handed me a light coat. It will be cold on the way. I didn't answer, but I felt it. And when I opened the door to leave, he said, almost in a whisper, Matilda, you weren't a debt. You were the light I had left. My eyes burned, not because I was sad, but because for the first time I understood. I wasn't a remnant. I wasn't an exchange. I wasn't merchandise. I was life, and that life was now mine. I walked to the road. The wind lifted my hair. The morning was still gray, but the sun was coming. I didn't know where I was going. I had no map, no guarantee, no destiny. But my steps didn't tremble. Because when the world is finally yours, you learn to walk without asking for permission. I left, and in that moment, for the first time in my story, I was free. If you've listened to this story this far, breathe. Sometimes freedom doesn't come with applause. Sometimes it comes in silence, in the light step that says, now, it's me. Tell me in the comments, have you ever had to choose yourself, even if it hurt? This is Matilda's story, but it could be mine. Or yours. Subscribe to hear the next one. We still have a lot to talk about.